Okay, I wanted to discuss this in a short, but it was way too much information, so here we are. Today we're going to discuss a brief history of fuel systems and understand why direct injection is such a contentious topic. Let's get started. So, a long time ago, we had these things called carburetors. It was like a clunky mechanical device that mixed fuel and air using the Venturi effect. Essentially what it was that air came into this tube, speeding up, losing pressure, and taking fuel with it. It worked, but delivery was imprecise, starting was a complete nightmare, and emissions, yeah, just forget about it. Carburetors were inefficient, inconsistent, and extremely loud. Then came fuel injection, which revolutionized the fuel delivery service. Instead of relying on airflow to suck in fuel, we now had these little injectors, these electronically controlled injectors which could spray fuel directly into the intake valve without any air. Now, this gave engineers so much better control over how much fuel was being delivered and when that fuel was being delivered. But that wasn't enough. So now we have direct injection. Direct injection means shooting a fuel mist, directly into the combustion chamber instead of the intake. It's much more complicated, but also allowed the computer to have full control over fuel, making much more power and using less fuel. Now, here's the problem. There's two, actually. Both emissions. One is called EGR. EGR, or exhaust gas recirculation, basically redirects exhaust gases back through the intake to be reburned. But the problem is that this exhaust gas has unburned hydrocarbons and soot. And over time, it just builds on the intake valve. So every time the intake valve just opens to let in air, that literally just blocks half of it. And eventually, it's going to clog up the entire thing. You won't notice for a while, but over time, like the engine can misfire or knock, and you will certainly feel that. The other system is called PCV, or positive crankcase ventilation. Now, this system takes gases that bypass the pistons and redirects them back into the intake to be reburned. This process causes oil vapors to collect on the intake, so pretty much the same issue. So what do we do? Well, first of all, there are a few solutions. Have good quality oil. Good oil means less oil vapor escaping and building on the intake valves. Second, good driving habits. What I mean is that you should take less short trips and actually push the engine. Pushing the engine makes it generally difficult to build carbon. Now, car makers are well aware of this issue and have made strides to improve. Companies like Mazda have strategies to keep the intake warm, so if you drive above 4,000 RPM, in theory you should just burn off the carbon. It's a pretty decent idea. But the best solution, absolute best solution, is dual injection. Companies like Toyota have direct and port injection, with the port injectors working with the direct injectors so that they can wash off the soot and oil as they collect. Now, what if you build carbon and you don't have any of these things? Don't worry, you can do what we call a fuel induction service. Basically, a mechanic will expose the intake valves and blast them with chemicals that can just melt the carbon off. Or do walnut blasting, which is literally just shooting crushed up walnut shells to break up all that carbon and then suck them out with a vacuum. So, direct injection is one of the most important leaps forward in engine technology. It's powerful, it's efficient, it's cleaner, but it's not perfect. Fortunately, there are solutions, so don't fear getting to that direct injected car. Thanks for watching, I'll see you again next time.